Hello, my name is Gina Lucas, and I am a nutrition health specialist for University of Missouri Extension, and I am here to do a cooking demonstration for you today. Today we're going to cook one of my favorite foods, which is pizza. Of course, when you think of pizza, you might not think that that is the healthiest food, but with just a few adjustments, you can make any food healthier. And so today's recipe is mini pizzas, and that comes from the Cooking Matters. You can go on the Cooking Matters website and find mini pizzas and many other healthy and inexpensive recipes. And so today we are looking at how to do the mini pizzas. So the first thing you do when you are going to cook anything is you want to make sure that you are doing food safety. And so first part of being food safe is to wash your hands. And so you should wash your hands before you cook, you should wash your hands while you cook, and you should wash your hands before you eat. And so you can't wash your hands too many times. And so when you wash your hands, once again, 20 seconds, you want to get between your fingers, you want to get underneath your fingernails, you want to do a good job cleaning your hands, and I have done that. You also want to make sure that your kitchen or the space that you are preparing your meal is sanitized and clean. And so I have a clean workspace, and so we're set there. The next thing you want to do is you want to have your recipe. You want to go through your recipe, and you want to make sure that all the ingredients and all the materials that are listed you have on hand. So if you don't have something that you need, you can make a substitution. And so it asks for mushrooms and asks for a tomato. And if I didn't have those things, I could try substituting other vegetables. But I do want to make sure that I have an idea of whether I have everything I need before I get started and I'm in the middle of cooking. And so I do have all the ingredients I need and I have all the materials I need. And so I'm set. The next thing you want to do whenever you're cooking is to read through the directions. I'm going to read all the directions before I get started. So that way I have an idea of what the process is going to be to cook this meal and whether I have everything that I need and I'm ready to do that. And so I look through the directions and I have done that. And the first step is to preheat your oven to 450 degrees. And so I have done that. You can also use a toaster oven to cook this recipe if you have that, and I've done that and it works just as well. So working with the oven and some of the cooking things, the cutting things we're going to do, you really want to have some adult supervision if you are a child or a youth so that you can do those things safely. And so I have that, and so the first piece of my direction is complete. Now it says to rinse my bell pepper, my mushrooms, and my tomatoes. And so I've already done that. This tomato and these bell peppers I have gotten from the grocery store. And when you get your produce from the grocery store, you don't know how many other people have touched your produce before you got it. So you do want to make sure you wash it really good. And so I've washed those and those are ready to go. And so once you have that all clean, then we're going to directions and it says remove core and cut pepper into thin slices. And so I have my pepper and we want to remove this core. And inside there's this chunk with all these seeds. Whatever way you can get all of those seeds out, the easiest is the best thing to do. This is how I've always cut my pepper. You want to use your claw so that your knife is not anywhere near where your fingers are. And so I cut this entire end of my bell pepper so that I can easily grab this whole thing that has all of those seeds. And so that's how I do it. Yeah, your family may have a different way that they tackle this. And so then I will go in and I will remove any remaining seeds and get our pepper ready to slice. And so I have already sliced the pepper and I have some sliced pepper here. And so we have some thin slices as it has asked for. The next ingredient is to say slice your mushrooms in 1/4 inch thick. And so here are your mushrooms. And so I just do as it says and slice my mushrooms. Once again, keeping my fingers back out of the way. Of course, they're not perfectly 1/4 inch thick, but they don't have to be perfect. And so that is perfect. That's ready. So the next thing, to dice our tomato in 1/4 inch pieces. And so once again, you will want to remove the core and you'll want to dice by cutting this way, and you'll have slices, then you'll cut this way and you'll have strips, and you cut the final way and you'll have little square pieces. And those are diced. Sometimes you'll see diced, sometimes you'll see chopped, sometimes you'll see minced. The main difference between those is the size of the pieces. So chopped is usually bigger pieces. Sometimes they're regular, they don't have to be perfect. Diced are smaller, somewhat more regular in size, and minced is very small. A lot of times you'll see minced when you see garlic, for instance. And so I have all these things ready. And so our vegetables are prepped, and so we are set. So when we look at the next step, it says that we want to, in a small bowl, grate our cheese. So I have a chunk here of the low-fat mozzarella cheese, and this is what I have grated to get my grated cheese. Now, some people already have pre-grated at home, or that's what they get at the store, and that's perfectly fine. I like getting it in the bulk because I can just slice off what I need and then use some more later. I find I like the flavor better. I feel like it's fresher, but you do whatever you normally do and whatever you have on hand. And so I have here about 4 ounces of the shredded mozzarella cheese, which is exactly what the recipe asks for. So this recipe serves 6 people as it is written. So it takes about 25 minutes to do all the prep. It takes about 25 minutes combined to do the cooking. And so that's what you'll need to plan on if you're going to do this. If you have 12 people in your family, you'll probably want to double that recipe. If you have fewer people in the family, you can do less. You can do maybe half of it today and half of it another time. And so then I put my cheese back in a Ziploc bag, and I can store it in the refrigerator where it'll be food safe and use it again another day. Now on your mozzarella cheese, and all your cheeses really, there is a difference in the amount of fat that may be on one type versus the other. Now when you look at the front of the bag, it may not be obvious at first that they're not all the same. But based on how much fat was in the milk that made the cheese, that's going to be how much fat is in the cheese. And so if you turn that package around and you look at the back, you can see the difference in fat and saturated fats from one to the other. And so this is a low-fat cheese. I've seen cheese made from whole milk. I've seen cheese that's fat-free. And so you do want to look at those and get whatever you think that is best healthy for your family. And so that's what I have here. And so the next step in our list is to split English muffins in half. Some English muffins are already split. These are whole grain English muffins. And so they are pre-perforated, but not pre-sliced. Now, when I went to the store, there were 2 different kinds of English muffins there, and they both looked like they were whole wheat. And so from the front of the package, one said whole wheat and one said multi-grain. And so when I turned over the package and I looked at the list of ingredients, one said enriched flour and one said whole wheat. So the whole wheat flour is the one that is going to be our whole grain. And so that's what I'm looking for. So I have higher fiber and better nutrients. So that's what I get. Whatever you get, whatever you have on hand, go ahead and use that. That is fine. Once again, as I'm cutting this, I am making sure that my fingers are not in between the knife and the cutting space. And so I'm cutting away from my body and away from my fingers. And so then I will put those onto the plate with these other ones. And so now they are ready. And I will put the sleeve back on my knife. The next list says to go ahead and put these in the oven until they are lightly browned, about 10 minutes. And so we're pre-cooking these just so the English muffins are crisp. I like a crisp pizza and I like crisp English muffins, and that's what our recipe calls for. If you want them crisper, you can cook them a little bit longer, and if you want them less crisp, you can cook them a little bit less. But this is what I'm going to do and put those in there, and now I'm set. And I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes so those will be ready. And now I go ahead and look at the next step on my list. And it says in a large skillet over medium heat, heat oil. So we have 1 tablespoon of oil. I already have it in the pan. And so you can use vegetable oil, corn oil, canola oil. There are a lot of good choices. You can use what you have on hand. You don't have to get an expensive oil. The canola oil is very inexpensive, and that's what I typically use. And so I have 1 tablespoon of oil in here, and I've warmed up my stove. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pre-cook some of our vegetables. And so you may not normally do this, but we're going to cook some of our vegetables before we put them as part of the pizza and cook them again. And so this will do a couple of things. It improves the texture of the vegetables, and it also will increase the flavor that I get from it. And so I'm going to turn this up a little higher, And then I have my vegetables cooking. Now, if you notice, I'm not cooking all of my vegetables. I did not put the tomatoes in the pan. And so the tomatoes I will be using fresh. I do not need to pre-cook those. Those are already very tender. And I will put, though, the peppers and the mushrooms. And so what vegetables you use is completely up to you and your preference, or what's on sale. When I went to the grocery store, the 8-ounce packages of the white mushrooms were on sale, 10 for $10. But that's a great price. So you have to be careful though, when you see those kinds of bulk advertising, 10 for $10, that you don't have to buy 10 of them. I did not need 10 packages of mushrooms. But in this particular case, you didn't have to buy 10. So I got one package for $1. And so that's a wonderful price. Now, if I'd gone to the store and the mushrooms were very expensive, which they may be at a different time, I could have substituted with something else. So if your carrots were on sale, I could have done carrots. If you love onions, you can use onions. And so do what is affordable for you and what your family loves, and that works. And so I will get these beginning to cook. So while these are cooking, I'm going to begin working on my pizza sauce. Now I know you may get your pizza sauce already prepared. You may already have some, but this is a very inexpensive and healthy alternative for making your own pizza sauce. So I have a can. It's an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce with no salt added. I don't need additional salt in my sauce because I'm using inexpensive spices to make this taste like pizza sauce. So in order to make your sauce, you're going to use a half a teaspoon of oregano and half a teaspoon of basil. And so I have my oregano already measured out, and so I'm going to measure out a half a teaspoon of basil. And so you can open this up, and I have my half teaspoon measuring spoon, and I'll go in and I want it to be heaping. I want it to be over full. This way I know that it is completely full. But then I will use a flat surface and I will slide off the excess so that I have exactly what I need. And I will put that in there. And so now what I will be doing is adding both of these straight into the can. This is super easy. You don't even have to waste a bowl. And so I'll pour my spices in, and I am making my pizza sauce. And so you stir this up. And voila, super easy. This is a fun thing for you to do with family members so that they can get to do that. And so I'm going to go ahead and check my vegetables and see how they are coming along. Okay. So the next step after we have stirred our tomato sauce is to take our lightly browned English muffins and put the sauce and that on that. And so these I've already warmed up. If they're coming fresh out of the oven, you will want to be careful that you don't touch any of these edges and burn yourself. So I have them already ready, and I'll take my sauce and I'm going to put about a tablespoon on each one. So you can do this to taste however much that you want. This should be enough to make, once again, enough for 6 people. That's what the recipe calls for. And that's 2 halves of the English muffin. So each of the 6 would get 2 separate mini pizzas. And so I'm going to put this sauce on there. And these are already crispy, so they'll be nice and crisp when it's all done. So you put your sauce on here. Very good. Then when that's done, I'm going to go and check my vegetables. I wish you could smell this. It already smells amazing in here. But these have gotten softer, and they are smelling amazing, and I'm sure that the flavor is exceptional. And so now, when these are ready, I will go ahead and take and put my tomatoes right in with the other vegetables. And so you mix that up, and then your vegetables are set to go on your pizzas. Very nice. And so you can take your spoon and you can put just some veggies on every one of your little mini pizzas. Oh, it looks amazing. And once again, this could be anything. This could be zucchini, this could be carrots, this could be onions, this can be whatever vegetables that you like. Now your thicker vegetables, you will want to go ahead and pre-cook them a little bit so that they're ready. But your other vegetables, like your tomatoes, you don't need to pre-cook. But I'll get those on there, and that looks beautiful. Now, as far as the protein, the pepperoni are optional on this recipe. I love pepperoni, so I'm going to go ahead and use them. This is turkey pepperoni, which has less fat in it than the traditional pepperoni. I can't tell the difference when I eat them, so I'm going to use the one that has less fat. And so you can do this without any protein. That was perfectly fine. You can put a different kind of meat on here if you want to. These are so very adjustable to whatever you and your family love. And so put these on here. And if you look at my pizzas and you see what we have here, we have 3 different colors of vegetables. We have the green of the green peppers, we have the red tomatoes, and we have the white of the mushrooms. And so it's good to get a variety of color of your vegetables every week. And so I have a good variety. We also see we have several food groups in one meal. We have our whole grain, we have our vegetables, we have a protein, we're getting ready to add our mozzarella cheese, and so that will be 4 of the food groups. Now my daughter, she loves pineapple on her pizza, and so if we added pineapple, we would have all 5 food groups on this pizza. But I'm not a big fan of the pineapple personally, and so we will just do the 4 food groups this time. You do want to try to get all 5 food groups in your diet every day. And so half of your plate should be fruits and vegetables at every meal if you can. And this has a lot of vegetables, and so that's very good. So once we have our cheese on top, and these are looking amazing, I'll go ahead and I'll put the pan. There you go. So I have some that are already ready, and so I can show you how amazing they look when they are done. And so these, just a perfect snack. And now the sauce that I have left over will last in the fridge for 2 to 3 days. And so I can go ahead and put this in the fridge, and then I can use it again for lunch tomorrow or snack the next day, however I want to do that. And so remember that this is a normal food, a pizza, something that everybody really enjoys. And then we have made small changes, like we've gone to a whole grain crust. You can make your own whole grain crust for entire pizza. You can use the whole grain mini pitas. You can do whatever you want, and you can make that crust healthier. Then we've gone with a healthier sauce by using the no salt added tomato sauce and then adding our own spices. So that's less expensive and healthier. And so then we've added lots of vegetables, tons of vegetables. So that also makes your traditional meal of pizza healthier. And then on top of that, we've gone with a lean protein, which is the turkey pepperoni versus the regular, which does have less fat. And then finally on top, we've used a lower fat choice in our cheese as well. So with our low fat mozzarella cheese. And so these are just a wonderful meal to make together with your family that's less expensive and is much healthier than normal. And so I thank you for spending some time in the kitchen with me today.